Final day of the BMW IBSF 2016 Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships at Innsbruck in Austria. High above the double Olympic city, just outside the village of Igls, is the playfield for what is shaping up to be perhaps the most dramatic ever four-man Bobsleigh World Championship finale. Hello everybody, thanks for joining us. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside, ready to call the action in what could be an edge-of-the-seat thriller. John, what a race we've got in prospect.
In the third run, moving day, like at a golf tournament, Lamont Dean was poised to take the lead, maybe, and then on the exit of curve 9, the British have not won a world championship four-man medal in 77 years. They all walked away okay. We won't see him in the fourth heat. Rico Peter, he came out of nowhere in the third run. It seemed like the track had a little speed vortex, and he took advantage of it. Hit a few walls on the way down, but boy, was he fast. And he's in a bronze medal position. And Oscar's Melbardis, he was like started 19th, moved to 9th at the end of the first run, third best time of the second run. He had the best time of the third run, the best start, the best downtime, and he closed the gap on the German Francisco Friedrich, who we thought had an insurmountable lead overnight. They took a conservative start. They were the first guys off the hill, and they brought the rest of the field back to them, and now it's game on here. This is going to be a pretty exciting fourth run. The third run's first 7 sleds might have been the most exciting I've ever been involved with.
Whatever you have been planning to do for the next hour, wherever you are, buckle up, because this is where it gets dramatic. Francesco Friedrich led by 2700s overnight. He is now 1700s in front. He is still the man to catch, but he was only the 4th fastest sled in the first heat, and if he loses the same amount of speed to the top 3, he will lose this race. Fast 20 go through. Stephen Holcomb, Lamin Dean and the rest of the field join our spectators on the sidelines.
Holcomb had quite a story with his
Yes,
brakeman. They dropped the sled out his brakeman's hand. He's in the hospital. Hopefully he's okay.
Well, there's the man who has to wait nearly an hour to decide his own fate. But will the track conditions, will the weather conditions have something to say? Yesterday, it was snowing for both heats. Today, it's 10, 12 degrees. The track is a very different prospect, and who knows what is going to happen in the next hour. There's Rico Peter trying to zone himself in to perhaps a shot at a World Championship gold medal.
Well, at least a podium finish. He's electric. The Russians, they were in second overnight, and they fell all the way to 7th.
Yun Jung-won of Korea will be the first of the 20 sleds on the ice. All 4 runs count. The aggregate time for each of the drivers and their crews will decide where they finish in the final lineup. Francesco Friedrich goes last at the end of this hour.
This is just like the Olympic qualification. 4 heats, 2 heats a day. Here's our first team on top of the track.
Korea's Yun Jung-won, 30 years old now. First win was in Whistler in the 2-man competition. He is our 2-man World Cup points leader. And the 4-man, 20th after 3 of our 4 heats.
Yeah. Koreans don't have the 4-man figured out the way they got the 2-man wired. But I saw one thing looking at the stats. This sled flies with high speed on the bottom part of the track. That's how come he knocked Holcomb out of that 20th position. But Holcomb, they fell at the start in the first run, and then they had their brakeman got a sled dropped on his hand right before the start of the fourth run. But Juan is, again, like you mentioned, Mark, he's on the verge of winning a World Cup 2-man title next week in Königsee, Germany.
That's going to be such a massive step forward for him and for the Korean bobsled program. They need to bring the 4-man on in the next 2 years, though, to be able to challenge for medals like the Russians did in Sochi. First man down, he's our crash test dummy. Let's see what the track can produce. 51.90, about an hour and a half ago. He comes across the line. 51.61, wow. 2900s quicker.
Faster. So it's got cooler. The sun's going behind the mountains, and we're going to see faster times here.
51.6 would have left him about halfway up the top 12 in the last heat. The sun has dipped a little behind the mountains. The temperature in the air is definitely a little cooler. Refrigeration's been on hard all day, so the track should get faster. Not much humidity either. So
the start, well, the start is everything. In the two-man, this stud in the front seat, Juan, who's got the biggest quads in the field, he has some of the top 3 starts. Here in the four-man, they're back in the 20, 21st, 22nd start. And here, this is the Kreisel, the signature part of the track here, the 76 Olympic Games track. Ivo Delanovic, the former Czech star, coaching drivers for the Korean team.
First of all, get well soon shout-outs goes to Latvian coach Sandis Prūsis. Badly broke his ankle a couple of days ago after team captains meeting. He's watching in hospital here in Innsbruck as the first of his sleds takes to the ice. 30-year-old Ugo Salems, the driver.
Well, he's been a mystery man with 8th and 7th best starts, and there's 502 great starts. This is the first of 3 Latvian sleds where they have 12 athletes in the sleds. I said in the first heat, I think 8 of them are decathletes, and they all get awesome start times, but they just don't seem to be able to bring it. The first 2 sleds to finish, but their teammate Melbardis is in 2nd place going into this final heat.
Well, normally Salems is the better of the other 2 Latvian sleds. Here he's the 3rd. Didn't compete in four-man in last year's Worlds, but in 2012 in St. Moritz he took a top 6 finish.
Well, he's 3,300s up. He might come back a little bit towards Juan, because Juan is really fast on the bottom part of the track, but he'll be the leader by at least 20.
Gap between them was 600ths after the first heat. He's opened up almost 2 tenths on Yoon Jong-won of Korea.
And then go off to Koenigsee to go defend to get a World Cup title. What a deal that is for the Koreans to win the World Cup title. And their track opens in 2 weeks in Pyeongchang, Korea. And he's going to win a World Cup 2-man title in the sport. What a way to promote the sport in Asia.
First Asian driver to win a Crystal Globe in any discipline at the end of the season. Well, there's Ugo Salems. His World Championships are done as they move into the leaders' box.
You won't find better athletes at the start of a 4-man bobsled track than these Latvians. This little small country, I think it's 3 million people in the Baltic, and they produce athletes like this. You know, the start is one thing, but then you got to drive this track. You know, some people call it a Disney World track, but you know, it's very easy to get down, but it's tough to get down fast. Ask Lamont Dean about it.
Dominik Dvorak for the Czech Republic, 23 years old, from Prague, started bobsledding in 2010 and has been predominantly a brakeman. He's had occasional World Cup appearances as a 2-man driver, but normally brakes for Jan Verber, who's there holding the sled. And Dvorak has just outperformed fantastically his first World Championships as a driver.
Well, they've middle-of-the-pack starts. 5:11 last run, so they should get equal to that. That start track, there's no more sun on it up there. It's going to be quicker. Well, they just went out and matched their start time. And he was pretty impressive. Speeds on the bottom part of the track. I thought Holcomb had a chance to catch him, but he rocketed away in the bottom. Look at the water in the track.
Well, that is almost completely frozen over now. It was a stream at lunchtime, and it is now just a little glisten. And this sled, if it's Jan Verber's old 4-man, has a Dresden chassis and a Bruno Mijon cowl. Mijon famed for his ability to build sleds that cheat the wind.
Well, he's way behind here. I don't think he's going to catch the Latvian. He might lose 2 places here on the bottom. It's going to be tight for the 2nd place, but I don't think he's going to catch Zalmans.
26th in the 2-man competition, but he will not drop out of the top 20. Only 20 sleds do the final run.
Still good World Championships for him. 3rd best time, 51.74. Remember, Zalmans went way faster.
Well, he's not even started a 4-man race at World Cup level. He's done a couple of 2-mans, but his 4-man driving has only really begun this season.
Great season for him. Czechs have come to the track with a formidable amount of athletes, and they're just fine-tuning them into a respected program.
Already he's cursing his mistakes.
Well, very easy to get down this track. It's tough to get down fast. 11, 12, and 13. Watch the back end of the sled. Little bit of airtime. We'll see somebody else have a lot more airtime than that before we're done.
Pulled it off 12 into 13. He was getting late, and it gets later and later down through there. There is Dominik Dvorak. Thumbs up from him at the end of the Worlds. Current leader, Ugo Salems of Latvia. Italy's Simone Bertazzo dropped out of the two-man competition last weekend with injury and doesn't look fully fit either in this four-man contest, but he moved up 22nd overnight into 17th in the third heat.
Yeah, he's a formidable driver. He gets some suspect times here at the start, and obviously he had some good warm weather runners on, because to go from 22 to 17th like that, especially when the field is so, the track gets so cut up by the time he went down.
The field is tightly packed all the way down the order. Those big gaps are constant at this Igls track. He's 3800ths behind Ugus Zalims now. So is the track going to hold any pace? Or will we see the later sleds, our top drivers, go quicker still?
He's got a big red number to overcome down here. I don't think he's going to do it either. He got crushed at the start.
At the moment, he will be fourth of our four sleds unless he can dip to the tape and find something.
Yeah, he got buried at the start. 2300ths at the start.
Ahead of Dvorak by 200ths of a second. Ugus Zalims and his team still in the leader's box.
Well, Zalman's got a 5:02 start. The best start of the heat's going to be 4:99, 4:98. So when you start like him, and he puts it together like he did, I mean, he shouldn't be back here in the position. He should be up in the top 15. Well, this is tricky part of the track here, 8 to 9. And this guy shows why. He's got a little skid going there, but he got buried.
Simone Bertazzo of Italy misses picking up a spot. Next up is Canada's Justin Cripps, 16th after 3 heats from 23rd fastest run in the second, which left him way down the order. He was 12th after the first heat. Just plummeted like a stone.
And the North Americans have not had a very good performance here in this World Championships. Holcomb not making the cut. Cripps back here with a very good team of athletes. And he won his first World Cup medal in four-man earlier in the season. And they've got middle-of-the-pack starts. Last time out, 5:07. 11th best start. Decent. Should match that. 5:12. He's got the lead by 1000ths, but that's going to be red numbers because the Latvians just had an 0-2. But, you know, Cripps with a good line on the bottom part of the track could come out of this as the lead.
He had 2/10 over Ugus Zalims. Now he's 100 behind him.
That's going to bleed a little bit more, but he should neutralize it at the exit of Kreisel. Now he should neutralize it if he's got a good line going.
Just 300ths of a second in it. Justin Cripps closing back in on Ugus Zalims.
That's not going to help. Tied right now. He's got 200ths lead. He's fast enough. About a big air time there.
Everybody is bumping 12 to 13, and Cripps takes the lead away. 300ths of a second in front. Zalims closed 1700ths on the Canadian on that run alone.
Well, he beat him by 1000ths at the start. Cripps held in there. I mean, he can do no worse than 15th. You know, and he made it pretty interesting down on the bottom part of the track. The four-man bobsled start, choreography on ice. You know, the power, the teamwork needed. You know, look at the individual athletes with the leg turnover and drive. And this is where he gets into a mistake up in 9, but the real mistake down below into here. Watch the back. He's late here, so watch the back end of the sled. All air. And, you know, I don't know if that costs you down there, but boy, it certainly looks exciting.
Hey, listen, try and lift one of those sleds empty, and you'll know all about how heavy they are. Justin Cripps, our race leader. Nick Cunningham for the USA. Want to shout out to Sam McGuffey, get well soon. One of Stephen Holcomb's crewmen was injured in an incident this morning. And Holcomb and his team don't make the second heat. Cunningham then the only American sled in our final run here.
Well, Nick's, you know, again, there's Cripps is already gone. Only Chris Spring is left of the North Americans. And Cunningham, you know, is the last American hope here to have a respectable finish USA's had a rough season with putting a team together with cohesive starts. Way back on the start track.
Slipped a couple of spots in the third heat from 16th overnight.
Well, he's driving a sled that's won 2 world championships and the Olympic gold in 2010. So the sled knows how to go fast. Cunningham has a good run.
Good speed down at the bottom, 51.42. That is half a second quicker than his first trip down about an hour ago.
Warm weather runners. When the track had in the third heat, everything was in the sun. Now everything's in the shade. Listen up.
Hey, good work this season, baby. Good job. Hey, good work this season, baby.
There is the family, Nick Cunningham and his team. They take the lead. 14 sleds remain in the competition. A lot happier with that run, I think, Cunningham. Francis Lloyd-Cosderg from the track at La Plagne. This driver has been really coming on strongly. We don't see an awful lot of the French in World Cup competition, but you can see the development is still working.
Well, this guy drove himself into this place, and he's got the 23rd, the best start in the field. He drove himself into a 9th place position in the third run. I was very impressed with that.
9th fastest trip. He's 14th with 1 heat to go. Last year, 21st in the four-man worlds. Missed the cut.
He's got a huge lead on Cunningham, 3/10.
Cheers of Alain Les Bleus at the top to cheer on the French. Now, if he has another big run like that, he could move up another couple of spots.
Of the 4 heats. And this Bruno Mangeon sled, built by Bruno, the world champion for France in '99, the Olympic bronze medalist '98, coach, sled mechanic, driver coach, he does it all for the French. And he's got a pretty good pupil here in Lloyd-Cosderg. He's done very well in this world championships. Ooh, right there, though. Losing some back to Cunningham, but
only just about maintaining his third heat advantage. Little skid there, it's not going to help him. What speed can he find at the bottom?
He's finding it. 29. He's going to get out to 34, 35 here at the bottom.
And at the line, he does take the lead. Another couple of hundreds in the bank over Nick Cunningham. There's Bruno Mangeon. Max Robert, his brakeman.
Happy with that. I mean, you look at the hard hit there.
Yep. You have to brake, then there's a corner, and then a big braking episode before you come into the finish area.
Look at that area right there. See that area right there? That's the finish line for the downhill competition in 1976. And Franz Klammer, the Austrian, won the Olympic gold medal. Here's the lines into 7 to 8 Exeter Kreisel. Those were good lines. That's why he's fast on the bottom part of the track. Look at these lines, little skid. Not too bad, but that spot right there, this probably launched winter sports viewing in the United States. A legendary call by the late Frank Gifford and Bob Beatty. That sort of launched people wanting to watch winter sports in the United States. Franz Klammer's historic gold medal.
They want to be watching for the rest of this hour because we are building up to a grandstand finale. Nikita Zaharoff from Russia was only 400s in front of our current leader, Frenchman Lloyd-Cosderg. Zaharoff, 28 years old now. This is his second four-man worlds. Has not raced a two-man at World Championship level yet.
Russians are very proficient at getting in the sleds and getting down. All 3 Russian teams will enter the sled with that efficiency. Now, there's times aren't the best, but getting in the sled that consistent has a lot to do with your finish time at the bottom.
Lloyd-Cosderg of France was 9th fastest in the first heat of 30 sleds. Let's see how he fares, and the gap has come right down.
Cosderg, they have some runners on there today. The Bruno Mangeon, the magician that he is, this isn't looking good for Zakharov to hold his position at all.
Zakharov only had 400s from the first heat. He's still got another couple of 100 meters of ice to go. He's behind. Will he find it in the final corner? He's going to have to get height and loop down to the line. No. A tenth slower than the Frenchman, who loses a spot.
Great for France.
Some very happy French athletes, 2 new boys on the
Rookies,
team.
yeah.
Joining Jeremy Bouterin and Loic Costeg. Yannis Pouard and Vincent Castel, new to the team this year.
No start, well, they might have they don't have a great start time, but the getting in the sled and getting down. Look at the arms come up. Great cohesion, great efficiency. You got to get in with cat-like movements. They do it perfectly.
Justin Cripps of Canada has been and gone. His teammate Chris Spring is next. Top 12 after 3 of the 4 heats in this men's 4-man bobsleigh World Championships in Igls in Austria. In a sled that was rebuilt after a life-threatening crash in Altenburg a few years ago. His favorite piece of kit. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action trackside as we build to our conclusion. Race currently led by Frenchman Loic Costeg.
Well, this is the last North American hope here, and they've got some good starts. 5:06 in the last run. Good efficiency in the sled, 5:08. So that 1,700 lead is going to grow out to about 25 or 30 hundredths, and it's going to be tough for Spring to throw that away. He should be the leader on the bottom. 20. Ooh, it should be out more than that.
He was 1/10 of a second in front of Costeg from the first heat, and that is coming back.
Costeg was very fast on the bottom.
Yeah, this rate of deficit, he might be close to being behind at the line.
Needs the good line here, and he's got it. Still going to be close.
Spring finding his driving mojo again in this World Championships.
Ooh, very late there.
Hangs on.
He's the leader.
He will take the lead at the line with 11 still to go. And it's au revoir to the French, but...
Great job by him. Boy, Chris Spring, a little gasp there.
And another little gasp as they shoot through the station. On the back brakes there, Sam Giguère, the former CFL linebacker and wide receiver.
Well, when you have athletes like this, then it's about forming the athletes into a team. And the team that deals with hundreds of seconds in precision, leg turnover and drive. Look at the brakeman step. That's Giguère. Look at how late this is.
Yep, rock the heads around.
Wow, and he came crossed over, got on the take-on too early, hit that jump. Ski jump, we call it a bob jump down here today.
Huge drama in the first heat. Lamin Dean shooting for gold for Great Britain, crashed out and doesn't make the final run today. John Jackson does, though, with Brad Hall and John Baines, who competed in the 2-man competition. They're joined by Andy Matthews on the back of the sled, whose former coach Linford Christie was here to watch the action yesterday. And for Jacko, the Royal Marine Commando, back off a season away through injury. A great top 10 shot now.
He had some problems in the first heat, hitting that push bar. He comes off the back rock. He doesn't set his feet in the ice like most of the drivers, but he missed the push bar, and we noticed at the bottom of the hill he had some blood on his hand. But he had a great third run. He had the 18th best start, but he had the 10th best downtime.
And he needs another blinding run like that. Nearly a quarter of a second out of the top 10. But on the changing ice on this track, who knows what might be coming?
Ooh, it's 400. So that's no more bleeding of the time allowed for Jacko.
600s ahead of Chris Spring for the first heat.
This is where I trust Jacko on the bottom part of the track. Ooh, he gets in the little skid, 500s lead. It should be out more. Only 5. That mistake on before 10 might cost them. It's going to be close.
Very close at the line. 300s in front.
So they just came down 3 miles in distance. 6 kilometers, 4 or 5 kilometers, and they're separated by 300ths of a second. That's about your knuckle down, maybe your finger.
It takes something like 1400ths of a second for a human eye to blink.
He just lost by 3 in 5 kilometers.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so this is the 8 to 9 section of the track where his teammate tipped over, and he gets out of the curve early, but he gets into a skid, and the entrance to 10, a lot of pressure. That's why he didn't accelerate away and lost time in the bottom.
In the background, Brad Hall. John Jackson of Great Britain, the leader, halfway through our final heat of the four-man bobsleigh World Championships.
Die sind jetzt oben am Start bereit. Das Team aus Lettland.
10 down, 10 to go here. Last run of 4 in the Bobsleigh World Championships 2016. Martin Haven, John Morgan. And at the line, Oskars Kibermanis, the 22-year-old from Latvia, finally seems to have found the speed that has been missing all season long.
Well, like I said, the Latvians have 3 sleds in the field, and they have unbelievable 12 athletes in them. They have fantastic starts. There's the fastest time of the heat, 5 flat. They beat their teammates who have a 5:02. And the next guy coming up, who's in second place, Man Bobsleigh, he might rocket to the track record, which is 4:96, and he owns it. 3/10 of a lead, but he's been a very inconsistent young driver this season. He's very frustrated. You can tell every time he gets out of the sled. But this will help him out. Top 10 finish here at the Worlds.
Now he was 2,300 in front of current leader John Jackson of Great Britain after 3 heats. Will he have anything more than that? No. So he's now losing time to Jacko on this run. His 3-round advantage will keep him in front. But Jacko 51.39, Chris Spring before a 51.36, 51.41.
Yeah, but this guy started 5 flat. The other guy started 5:10.
And that's only the 4th fastest run of the heat. Now are we looking at seeing a pattern where maybe the track is going away and not giving the speed, or is it just down to driving and setup?
You give that French guy that start time and he'd still be up there. I think he'd still be in the top 4 or 5. The start, the cohesion. Oh, the sled came out. Look at them lift the sled. That's, you know, and they still get a 5 flat start, and they do that, and then these 4 huge athletes get in that little bathtub for the best time at the first 50 meters of this heat. Look at his, see, he's so frustrated with himself.
Well, he's going to be top 10, no worse, Oskars Kibermanis. Last year only 15th in the 4-man. 9th after 3 of 4 heats is Russia's Alexei Stulnev, and Stulnev has been in a battle for supremacy with his teammates all season long. Alexander Kashinov is 2 spots further up the order. He's his next closest rival.
Well, you want to watch how to get in the sled. I mean, we've seen the Russians, 3 in the first heat, 1 so far, be so precise in the way they get in the sled with cat-like movement. Let's watch.
Go!
5:06 in the last run, but in, down, home. Look at that precision. Wow. If they got style points, the Russian teams would beat everybody for the style points of getting in that sled with efficiency.
He's in 9th place. He was in 11th overnight, moved up a little bit in the 3rd of our 4 heats, but already lingering behind. He was only 700 in front of Oskars Kibermanis. They got outstarted by 700s.
Yeah, he stopped the bleeding right there, though, and he's fast on the bottom. He's a better driver than Kibermanis. Kibermanis crushes him at the start, but this is what Stulnev does. He's had a pretty good season.
Joined 11th in the World Championships last year with teammate Nikita Zarov.
He's 7th in World Cup points. A couple 7th place finishes his best. And he'll be the leader.
It's like the Russians have found a little bit more speed on this track than the Latvians. 51.36, same as Canada's Chris Spring posted a couple of sleds ago. You see Maxim Mokrosov, one of their veteran brakemen, standing up in the sled as they come into the station. So they will finish no worse than 9th. 2-spot improvement on last year.
Look at the power. Now he's got his feet locked into the ice. He doesn't come off the back start block like we see some of the drivers. And then, you know, they don't count steps. If you think the feet are coming down at the same time like a choreography, it's not. People just go in natural reaction and you know, instinct. And boy, that's quite an athletic instinct.
Johannes Lochner of Germany, the junior world champion in 2-man and 4-man. Lochner and his team were challengers for the 2-man gold, finished tied for 2nd with Oskars Melbardis of Latvia behind our current 4-man race leader, Francesco Friedrich.
They need to go for it. They need the chance to start. They could blow into the sub-5s here. This is 4 spectacular young German athletes. 5:04. Now that is, considering what they did yesterday on a faster start track, they had 498, 5 flat, 5:02, and 5:04. So they went the opposite way you want to have a team go in a push-dominated competition.
Well, one thing we know for certain about Johannes Lochner is that this boy can drive.
He didn't drive very well in the first heat when he crushed out of the wall and he was up in the top 5. He's got a huge lead here. This is where he made his mistake in the first heat. Not there.
5th fastest run in the second heat. The best German was only 4th fastest. Let's see.
This is fast.
Well, this might give us an indication if the track is coming back to the German sleds and they're set up.
51.17.
Yes, that's a long way quicker than anybody has managed. That's
just
2/10 quicker than anybody has managed so far.
Yeah, he's 2300s faster than his first run. The first run was a little perplexing because it was so warm out. The German sleds did not run well in the warm weather. Here, there's no more sun on the track. The temperatures dropped 4 or 5 degrees. I think the German sleds are now in tune with the ice.
Fastest run in the first heat was a 51.15 tonight, and that's a 51.17.
Yeah, we got a lot of sleds yet to come.
Yes,
and look at the push bars. Very surprised they didn't get better starts than they did. Back end of the sled, pretty good. No airtime there. One of the few sleds we've seen come through 13.
Joshua Bloom there, his regular 2-man brakeman. They'll still be among the fastest 4 starting teams at the end of this competition. Russia's Alexander Kasyanov lies in 7th position after 3 of 4 heats. He's 2400ths out of bronze. He is 4400ths away from the top of the pile. From here on in, everybody could win medals. Everybody.
2nd the first run, 7th in the second run, 8th in the third run. Boy, he's going in the wrong direction. 5:10 start. Disaster in the third run. He's got to get down 5:05, 5:06 like he had in the first 2 runs. 5:13. What happened to this team? They had a 5:05 the first 2 runs, and that's what put him in a chance to win a medal. Now, this is like he's going reverse.
He was 200ths in front of Johannes Lochner. Now he's nearly 2/10 behind. There's no coming back on this short track from that deficit.
Yeah, he might get worse to 2018. Now he stopped the bleeding there. Now he'll bring it back. But I don't know, Lochner was pretty quick down here. I don't know if he can catch Lochner. Here he comes, 17. And he's going to run out of track down here. And it's going to be a very disappointing World Championships for Kasyanov, who was 2nd at the end of the first run. He's not going to catch him. He could drop a couple places. No,
7th in last year's Worlds.
This is very disappointing.
And he drops the 4th fastest run. Drops into 2nd place by nearly 2/10 of a second.
This is going to put 4 German sleds in the top 6. And we might see a German sweep before we're done here. And these guys won't be too happy with this. Such hope and promise. And for them to go 5:05, 5:05, and then produce these results on the second day of a 5:10 and a 5:13, I don't know. Somebody turned the lights off for them.
Well, to go from 2nd in the first heat down to no better than 8th place, perhaps, by the finish, that is a track and a driver that has got away. So, Alexander Kasyanov loses the lead to Johannes Lochner. Next up is Benny Meyer of Austria, and this is the big hope for Austria. 8th fastest in the first day on both trips, and 3rd fastest on his last one. There's Johannes Lochner on the right, Joshua Bloom checking out himself in the TV monitors, but will they lead after this run, or will the Austrians seal a top 6 finish, or maybe more?
This young 21-year-old phenom has come out of nowhere in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, he won a World Championship and a European Championship silver medal. Everybody was shocked. It was the Austrians' first medal in the European Championships in 17 years. It was their first World Cup medal in over a decade.
500s in front of Lochner as he sat down. 700s now. The start was a fraction slower than the Germans, but there was only 100th of a second in it.
This kid has got some great talent on the bottom part of his whole track, and listen to the crowd.
Yes, it's his home track, but he's only 21. He's only been driving 3 years. This could be a massive moment for Austrian bobsledding. Bronze in the team's competition. If he puts himself in the lead now, who knows what might come. 51.16, what a run! That's sensational. That's as quick as anybody has been down this track today.
Somebody had out think #1 as they went by.
They were, yeah, what a run. Benny Meyer is hooked up like never before. 21 years old, what might happen now in the remaining 5 sleds? Benny Meyer of Austria leads, 5 sleds to go in the World 4-Man Championships. Oh boy, anything could happen now. Here's your world champion, Max Arndt, giving the track one long, scrutinizing look before he makes his bid for a medal here. 5th after 3 of 4 heats. Can he do it?
This team has been suspect at the start. Only a 5:09 in the last run. They're going to need 6 or 7.
1400s out of the medals, but his first concern is to beat Benny Meyer of Austria, who flew.
Didn't like his exit of curve 1 and 2. Looks like he had a little tap there. Look, he's already in the red.
Well, the best
this is the world champion.
Best of the German sleds was Francesco Friedrich, our current leader in the 3rd heat. He was only 4th fastest. Max Arndt was only 7th fastest down the track.
He can't bleed any more time here. Meyer was flying on the bottom part of this track, but this is the 2-time world champion losing more time.
Meyer was 2/10 out of the medals.
The celebration, if he gets through here, Meyer, will be enormous.
1100s, it's down to 10 hundredths of a second. 3 corners remain. Can he find speed against the Austrian? No!
They just beat the 2-time world champion, who is favored to win this race. You talk about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat in the last 15 seconds right here. Well, they just didn't have a start. And in this track, the start is more important than any track on the planet. Look at the helmet here, the way that cross over the hands brings the visor down. But they just didn't have the velocity. Benny Meyer caught him early, and down at the bottom, Arndt just couldn't catch him.
Meyer beat Arndt. Meyer was beaten at the start by Benny Meyer, beat Arndt rather, by 1900ths over 4 heats. Only beats him at the bottom by 800, but actually, Arndt is now only not in 2nd, he's in 3rd behind Johannes Lochner. With 4 sleds to go, Benny Meyer of Austria still our race leader. What about 25-year-old Nico Walter from Freitau, close to the Altenburg track? Hasn't had all his starts in the top 10 fastest, none in the top half dozen.
And they give up suspect start times too.
Only has 800s in hand over Benny Meyer over 3 runs.
05, very good.
Same as Meyer.
Yeah, but very good. Arndt went backwards. This team went better than they did in the 3rd run. So this will give him a chance. But this guy's been in a slump for the last 3 weeks. Got a disastrous 2-man competition. And he's 7-7.
800s up after the first 3 heats, down to 7, down to 5. Meyer's quick at the bottom.
Listen.
Oh my goodness, here we go.
No.
Down to 3. The Austrians at the bottom are going to go even more mental. Nico Walter's not going to hold the lead, surely.
Sleds have had a rough time, and oh, he's still got it.
Oh, it's going to be perilously close.
I think he's got it.
Little flop off the line, final corner. Beats the Austrians, 51.22 run is just enough.
Well, there's a medal, right? No, there's a chance for a medal. But I like that. I tell you, Nico Walter has been in a slump, and that right there was a great drive on the bottom part of the track when he was losing time all the way to the Kreisel. Out of Kreisel, he stopped the bleeding, and he has to go and hope that someone else makes a mistake to give him a world championship medal. Last year, he lost the World Championships by 0.02 of a second in Winterberg to Max Arndt. And the start here, you know, these guys did it. They were 5:07 in the last run, 5:05. They matched Benny Maier's 5:05. If they didn't do it, they wouldn't be the leaders.
I spoke to him at the beginning of training. I said, how's the form, man? He said, it's got to be better than two, man. He had a horrible week last week. 3 different nations in the top 3 in the World Championships for 4-man bobsleigh. Switzerland lie 3rd, Latvia 2nd, Germany 1st. 1,200 meters of ice for each team will decide the medals.
The Swiss team has been very consistent at the start. 5:06, 5:05, 5:05.
Well, 32-year-old driver Rico Peter unleashed his pinball wizard technique that has won him so many fast runs this season. Will he do it again?
They got to get off at a 5:05, 5:04. Look at it, the Swiss precision start, 5:03.
Fastest of their competition.
He hits everything in sight and comes down the track as fast as anybody. He's been doing that all year, and he did that in the last heat.
Neat and tidy yesterday. He was a little off the pace in the last heat. He was 2nd fastest.
The Swiss always do well on this track. And Rico Peter never won a World Championship medal.
Normally we pick drivers up on their slides, on their taps, on their mistakes. With Rico Peter, we pick them up because it seems to make him quicker.
Perfect, much better lines than he had in the 30. I don't know, his smooth lines aren't fast, but this is going to be at least a bronze medal for Rico Peter.
He's going to put himself onto the podium with a great run, 51.17, 1/10 of a second quicker than his last trip. The Swiss are in the medals. Coach Wolfgang Stampfer is exuberant, and Rico Peter will be thrilled with that.
Wolfgang Stampfer told me, he said he was worried about a German sweep, but he said maybe Rico could get in there. Well, Rico, your team just did it. They did it here at the start. 3 starts, 5:05, 5:05, 5:06, and then 5:03 in the final run. Look at that, look how quickly they were in the sled. They might match the Russians for the best style points for getting in the sled efficiently. But, you know, this run down below, that was a clean run. That's not like him.
Let it fly. It was cleanish. For Rico, it was absolutely impeccable. But, yeah, he's looking up for the times and the fans. He's in the medals. His best ever 4-man World Championship result has been a 6th spot. 1,700 separate the fastest 2 sleds after 3 of 4 heats in the 4-man bobsleigh World Championships. And chasing from behind, Oskars Melbardis, 9th fastest in the 1st heat, 3rd quickest in the 2nd heat. He moved up into the top half dozen overnight and in contention, and then blew the field away with his 3rd trip.
These guys could go for it. They're going for the goal. They could get a 497, 496. This is the best pushing team in the world when they're healthy.
Turned 28 on Wednesday. What a birthday present this could be.
He was a rocket ship in the 3rd run.
Had a really low start draw, 19th position, because he's only done half the World Cup season, and that hampered his 1st run. But when he got into contention, nothing held him back.
3rd in the World Championships last year, but he won the World Cup title last year, the 2-man title, combined 4-man. But he got injured early in the season, and this would be some way to finish the season for Oskars Melbardis, and these lines are like he's on a rail.
Only 300s in front of Rico Peter from the 1st heat, now 2/10 of a second. This isn't about Rico Peter, this is about gold. Is this the shot for gold that Melbardis needed? Wow! Fastest heat of the competition, the only man below 51 seconds.
Wow. I'm a little, wow. What? He started the 19th sled down the track. Tremendous disadvantage. Wow, what did... Melbardis has had some performance with a season where he's been racked by injury. Him and his teammate, Damas Strieskens. And now Melbardis, the fastest pushing driver in the world, is now becoming one of the best drivers in the world, and what a lethal combination that's going to be.
Calm down, Coach Sanders Prusis. You're not helping your rehab, getting overexcited. 1 sled to go. Last year's overall 2-man and 4-man World Cup champion versus a double 2-man world champion.
They got to go for it here. They can't. They had a conservative start in the last round.
I'll correct that. a triple two-man world champion, Francesco Friedrich. Can he add his first ever four-man crowd?
So they went 5:04. He's going to have to go 5 flat. He had a 98 in the first run. 98 again. There they go. Like last week, he was tied to the 100th of a second, but his teammate Lochter going to the 4th run. He blew out the best start of the 4 heats and drove himself into his 3rd world championship. He's the youngest world championship medalist ever, and now he's got 3. No one at this age has ever had 3.
1700s up after 3 heats, 1800s up after halfway through the 4th.
He's got away. That start.
Oh, long skid.
16, he lost a little bit there. Still a lot of time left.
This could come down to a single-digit margin. He was 3,700 in front overnight.
He's high there. Oh, it's
400 in a second.
It's right to the 100th.
Francesco Friedrich or Oskars Melbardis. And it is. Oh, Melbardis wins it. Friedrich 3,700 in front overnight. The track goes away from the German setup. And Oskars Melbardis has slid half a season and half a season on the bench. And he is a world champion in four-man bobsleigh.
Look at the sportsman Friedrich is, though. Look at the sportsman Friedrich is. He get up, applauded the crowd. Hey, look at this guy. This is probably on the verge of being one of the greatest bobsled pilots ever in our sport. And he did not. Hey, you saw the way he handled himself. First ever Latvian world championship.
For Friedrich, it'll come. Of that, there can be no question. He was 4th last year. He's the silver medalist this year in four-man and a triple world champion in two-man.
If you ever want to know how to conduct yourself at an athletic event, this is the guy you want to take.
Lochner's crew, Rico Peter's crew, all offering their congratulations.
Look where he's going.
Yeah.
Look where he's going. And the start, well, they went for it. They delivered the start they needed, but his mistake down on the exit of Kreisel and the entrance to 10, he got up near the lip, almost hit 10. All of a sudden, that whole double-digit lead went away.
Listen, the track nearly came back to him. His last run at 51.19, the previous one at 51.39, whereas the Latvian setup just went quicker and quicker. A 51.15 earlier and a 50.98 on his final run. Melbardis, wow.
So much for the German sweep.
From the 19th start draw in the modern era on the shortest track on the planet.
Never thought that would be possible for him to rock it. Of course, they've been hurt. You know, Achilles problem for Drieskins on the left, back problem for Melbardis on the right. I mean, they're only, between them, they're 250-pound average. And they run like deer.
I guess his bad back isn't hurting quite as much now as it was.
Their coach, Sandis Prusis,
in hospital.
Falls down with a broken ankle on Wednesday. He's in the hospital with the operation. He's watching this now. Sandis, I'm sure there's no pain for you at the moment.
Yeah. It'll be a couple of minutes where he wasn't hitting the morphine button. So, Oskars Melbardis from 19th in the start draw, 9th in the first heat, 3rd in the second heat, to move up into contention overnight. And the fastest runs on Sunday give him his first ever four-man world championship gold medal. He was the junior world champion in 2 and 4 on this track 4 years ago. Rico Peter in the medals, in the bronze. Francesco Friedrich takes the silver, another double junior world champion. And Oskars Melbardis, perhaps the greatest day of his life, as he takes the four-man world championship gold. Well, he was 3rd in the four-man worlds after winning the junior worlds in 2012. That was at the much longer track than Igls. But a great result for him as he tops the world in the blue ribbon discipline here in Innsbruck. Well, we told you one thing, that it was going to be a nail-biter, and we told you something else, that we had no idea who was going to win. And we were right, we had no idea who was going to win.
No, but there was a lot of more predictability in those last 7 sleds than there was in the first 7 sleds of the 3rd run.
Yeah.
That was a pretty amazing 15, 18 minutes in the sport of bobsleigh.
It was like a wet qualifying session. It just scrambled, took all the names, threw them up in the air, and they came down in an utterly different order. But there are your world champions, Oskars Melbardis.
First ever for that little nation. They had 3 fantastic teams in the field. And this guy who's been hurt all year finally showed everybody that not only can he be the best pushing driver in the world, he's developing into being one of the better drivers.
And listen, you know, you compare him to Martins Ducos, who won the men's skeleton competition. They're the same. They're so quietly spoken, so unassuming, so humble, so un-superstar-y, despite the fact that he is going to be a huge front page as well as back page sensation across Latvia tomorrow. He'll be all over the TV news tonight.
The market share in Latvia when bobsledding is on TV is through the roof.
He is going to double that now, isn't he? Well, look at this stunning location. The sun finally dipping below the mountains in the Tyrol of Austria. Just outside of Innsbruck, we have seen more history made. The shortest, perhaps most favourable track for Oskars Melbardis and his team. And if they'd been fit, maybe it would have been a little less of a surprise that they came out on top. But boy, did they have to fight from the backfield for that. That was a championship medal worth winning, and well won by the Latvians. Stunning scenery and an unbelievable, breathtaking finish to the 4-man bobsleigh World Championships. As Oskars Melbardis on the right, Daumas Jeskins, Arbis Vilkasta and Jānis Stranga. The crew from Latvia, from 19th start draw in the first heat, drove their way into contention on day 1 and 2 unbelievably paced runs in the second day of action have brought them into the gold medal. The first time for their tiny country, the first time for Oskars Melbardis at the senior level, the 4-man world champion.
Flowers, Minister of Sport of Tyrol, I'm not really sure, but Austria, congratulations, Innsbruck. This has been a fantastic presentation of the sliding sports.
And to Benny Meyer, 5th position for the 21-year-old Austrian sensation, behind Nico Walter, ahead of Johannes Lochner and Max Arndt, the world champion. Then in the silver medal position, in the blue hat, Francesco Friedrich, and with the big, goofy grins, your Latvians.
Heike Goswang, the executive director of the International Bobsledding Skeleton Federation. I'm sure she loves what she's doing here, giving away these to the Latvians, a small little Baltic country that just is
a tiny nation that punches above its weight in ice sports. Oskars Melbardis, Francesco Friedrich and Rico Peter, the top 3. After a stunning fortnight of weather and excitement here in Innsbruck in Austria, and an unbelievable finale, the blue ribbon event, the 4-man bobsleigh competition, kept us guessing until the very final second. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of John Morgan, the whole IBSF TV crew, I'm Martin Haven saying thank you for being with us in Innsbruck. Goodbye from Innsbruck. We'll see you next time out.